Hello everyone, welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne and I'm the Product Manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And welcome to our weekly webinar where we look at stuff to do with the CI Tools. Today we're going to be looking at a brand new tool, which we've just added with the release of ArchiCAD 28. So we'll be getting into that shortly. If you have any questions as we go through today, please just pop those into the chat or the questions panel as we go, and I'll check on those about midway through and then again at the end so I can answer anything that you have while we're going. It doesn't have to be related to what we're talking about, just as long as it's something roughly ArchiCAD or CI Tools related. I'll either answer it or pass it on to someone else who can later. But yeah, let's get started. So as possibly quite a few of you already know, ArchiCAD 28 was recently released. And with that, we have also released a new CI tool. The new tool is called the Fitout tool. And what I'm going to show you today is what it can do, why you might be interested in using it, and we'll go a little bit into how to actually use it and get stuff done with it. But before we get on to that, just briefly, very briefly on ArchiCAD 28, I just wanted to mention, I covered this about a week or two ago, but one of the things that you need to know about ArchiCAD 28 when you are getting started with it is the difference with the libraries in ArchiCAD 28. So as you may have heard in some of the presentations about the new stuff coming in ArchiCAD 28, one of the new features is a change to the way that libraries work, and the main takeaway from this is that there are now kind of two types of libraries. There is the old library system, which is using LCF files, which you may or may not have seen, but it's the thing that was always traditionally called ArchiCAD library and then the version number. You would always have that loaded in ArchiCAD. This has now essentially gone away. So the new way of doing libraries in ArchiCAD uses a system called library packs. It's also sometimes called the global library. And these are different kinds of files and they need to be loaded in different ways. So if I just go to my library manager here in ArchiCAD, you'll be able to see that at the moment I am running this project using the old library style. So that's it's called the monolith library style in some ways, but I'm loading the folder ArchiCAD library 28, which is the old way of loading libraries. If you're migrating a project like this project here is migrated from ArchiCAD 27, this is the default way that you will be loading your libraries. And in general, if you are just migrating a project from an old version, I would continue to use the monolith libraries for those. So this is how you will be using it most of the time. However, if you're creating new projects in ArchiCAD 28, maybe you're upgrading your template for ArchiCAD 28, or maybe you have decided for whatever reason that you want to fully migrate a project to not only ArchiCAD 28 but to the new library system, you will be loading the lib packs instead, the library packages. So what you want to do when you do that is you'll hit the add button as if you were going to add any normal library, but instead of choosing the ArchiCAD library 28 in this case folder, you will choose the library packages. So we've got ArchiCAD library packages here, and you can see that there are quite a large amount of libpack files here. And what you'll do is you'll go through and select all of the libraries that you want to load. So select as many as you need to, all of the ones that contain objects that you're interested in. Select those all and hit open to load them in your library manager. Very important note, you can't just load the folder. If you select the folder here and load that, nothing will happen. You won't get any objects. You need to go through and select the actual individual lib packs that you want. Maybe you do want to select all of them, so you just go over here and hold shift and click the bottom selection and hit open. I wouldn't recommend that with the ArchiCAD library packages because there's a lot, as you can see, in different languages and that sort of thing that you simply don't need. So you can select all of them that way, but you can't select all of them by simply adding the folder. You have to add the libpack files themselves. So that is an important thing to look out for if you are doing that. So if you are making a new project in 28, you're making your template work in 28, or you're doing a full migration to 28, you need to load those and you need to load the files, not the folders. The same will apply with the CI Tools library packages, which are installed to this folder here. You will have this in your ArchiCAD 28 folder, CI Tools library packages. You can do the same thing here. So you can't load the folder. You need to load all of the files here, or at least all of the files that you actually want loaded. So just come in here, select everything that you want, and hit open, and that will load them in your library manager, and they will appear in a list here. I'm not going to do that for now because this is, as I said, a migrated project, so we're not going to be using library packages in this one, but that's an important thing to note for when you're getting started with that. Otherwise, just everything is not going to work because you won't have any libraries. Right, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the more interesting subject of the new tool. So as I mentioned, it's called the Fitout tool, and what we are aiming to do with this tool is essentially take out a bunch of the busy work of doing fit outs for your rooms in your project. So it will essentially place rooms for you without you having to do a bunch of juggling of elements next to each other and that sort of thing. You can build up favorites that have sort of preset room contents in them, and then have the tool automatically place them to fit into your rooms. And it also allows you to easily manipulate the contents of those rooms without it getting into all having to rotate and copy and drag multiple elements. It just takes a lot of that messing around out of the process and gives you a really nice looking fit out without you having to do much work at all. It also retains the elements in a single piece so that they're easy to manipulate, but when you get to the point in your project where you no longer want them in a single piece, so for instance once you're getting to scheduling and you want them all to be individuals, you can easily turn those into individual elements. So once you're happy with the fit out placement, you can just turn them all into individual elements and they'll just behave like completely normal elements after you do that. So you kind of have the best of both worlds. You can deal with them as a single unit when you are getting things ready and you're still sort of roughing out the layouts and that sort of thing. And then once you're happy, you sort of commit your changes by exploding them out into their component parts. So the way that it works is using the Fitout tool here, which is in my toolbox here. If you're using the CI Tools work environment, this one here, CI Tools Profile 28, you'll have it here just under the shell tool and next to the zone tool, and it's got a kind of a plan view of a room in it. You can see some sort of rectangles in a room shape and a door and a light switch and that sort of thing. So that is the Fitout tool. And what we can do is we can go in and choose what kind of room we're going to fit out first. So you can see in my project here we have 2 bedrooms, a bathroom and a laundry that are defined by zones. And the way that the Fitout tool works is by reading in those zones. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open the Fitout tool, and we have a couple of objects available in our library. So 3 of them specifically is what we're starting with. We have a bathroom fit-out, a bedroom fit-out and a laundry fit-out. So you choose the room type that you want to go with, and then you can make changes to what you want. I've set up a couple of a couple of favorites in advance, so I can use those. For now, we'll jump into the actual settings later, but for now, I will select the favorite that I want. So let's start with the master bedroom. So I've got a favorite here called bedroom, 1 queen bed, 1 dresser. I select that and I hit OK, and then I simply click in the bedroom and it automatically places a fitted out room here. So if I go to my 3D view now, bed 2, you can see that it has placed in a room that is already ready to go for us. So we have a bed placed, everything is oriented to the nearby wall that is near to it, and it is fit into places which make sense. So it's not covering doors or anything like that. Our doors and windows automatically have curtains placed on them. You can see our cabinet is placed over here, and we have beside the bed we have some bedside tables with lamps sitting on them. And also floating above we have a smoke alarm. So it's automatically gone through and done all of this for us without us having to do anything additional. And if I go to the floor plan view, you can see we have the same going on here. So everything is labeled to show what we have. We've got the bed, the bedside cabinets, the dresser, that sort of thing. And we can easily manipulate the contents of this because they are still considered to be a room. So if I select them, you can see everything is still selected. So we've got this radius here, which is showing me the radius out from my smoke alarm so that I can easily check if I have enough of those in my spaces. And then all of my items are selected as well, and I can grab the purple hotspots of these and just move them to wherever I want to. So for instance, if we decide that the bed should go against the other wall, we just pick it up, move it to the other wall, and it will automatically snap to the wall and rotate to match that wall. So it just gets rid of you having to do a lot of that messing around. Makes it nice and easy to do. Let's move this a little bit further down the wall here. And if I go back into 3D, that's all already done for us. So room arranging just becomes really, really quick and easy to do because the tool is handling that for you, essentially. We can then go through and fill out the rest of our rooms as well. So going back to the Fitout tool, we're going to go for the smaller bedroom this time. So I'm going to choose the bunk favorite, hit OK, and click in here, and it does the same again. So we draw up a bunk. We've got some dressers over here, and it's fit to the room, not covering any doors or anything like that. And we have the same functionality, so we can have a look at that in 3D. Maybe we choose that we want to have the beds on the other side. Let's just bring them over to here, and it's easily done. We don't have to mess around with anything at all. Same with the dressers or anything else in there as well. So now that we have room, we can move this one down here, and it automatically sorts that out for us. So it's just making it so that you don't have to think about doing all of that extra work when you are rearranging your rooms. Next one is the bathroom. So again, going to the Fitout tool. This time I'll choose my favorite. Let's go with the shower bath. Hit OK. Place this one, and we get the bath placed here along with the toilet and the vanity. And if I go to the 3D view of this one, you can see that it's done the same. So it's placed those elements in sensible places using the settings that I had preset in it. So we've got our vanity there, we've got our towel rail, we've got the toilet is placed, the shower bath is placed, and our grab rail is placed as well. Now the tool doesn't quite yet understand where your wall is necessarily, because it is following the zone. So it will occasionally place things like this, like a floating handrail. And so we can fix those easily by just moving them to where they should be instead. Again, just by grabbing the hotspots that make sense for that. And the bathroom works in the same way as the bedroom did. So we can just pick up one of these items, move it somewhere else, and it auto rotates and snaps to the wall. So we don't have to, again, we don't have to mess around with arranging that in the way that you need to every time you move every little thing. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to fit in a very small laundry out the back here. So grabbing my preset, my favorite again, I'm going to choose this favorite here, laundry side by side, click OK, and we will place the laundry there. And if I go to my laundry view, we will see that again, as I mentioned before, it doesn't know about where the wall is yet, so it has placed itself facing into the wall. So we go back to here, and then very quickly and easily we can just pick up the back, move it over to here, and it automatically rotates and snaps to the wall, and now we have our laundry placed, and essentially we don't need to do any more work at this point. So the real power of the tool will be in setting up a bunch of favorites for the types of rooms that you want to fit out, and then you simply click to place and your fit out work is done, essentially. So that's what we're aiming at for the tool, and that's how it works at the moment. I'll go into having a look at how you can do the specific things that we just did actually in the tool in a moment. I'm just going to quickly check and see if we have any questions. All right, looks like we don't have any questions just yet, so we'll keep on going through. So obviously the main thing that you'll want to know is it looks like smoke and mirrors at this point, maybe because we are just going through and applying these rooms, but who knows what settings we have in there. So let's see what we have available. So using this bedroom fit out that we have already placed, I'll show you the sorts of things that we can do. So opening the settings up here, I'm going to change out of my favorites so that you can see the library part here. So bedroom fit out is what we have selected, and these are the controls that we have. So at the top level, we are choosing what we call assemblies, and there's a concept in the tool of an assembly and a component, and essentially what it means is an assembly is a sort of a grouped chunk of elements together, whereas a component is an individual piece inside that group. And so at the moment we're looking at the high level of the assemblies, so we have the options to choose if we want beds or bunks, how many drawer sets we want placed, whether we want curtains or blinds or nothing, and if there should be a smoke detector displayed or not. So this is the high level settings of the room fit out itself, and then we can dig down into the actual components there. So this bed assembly again is a high level because the bed is an assembly of its own inside the greater room assembly. This one has its own high level setup where we choose how many beds there should be, how many cabinets there should be, and whether we should have any lamps sitting on those cabinets. And then we get down to the actual component level. So you can see these icons. The assemblies have a kind of a jigsaw icon here, and then the components themselves have just a single jigsaw piece here. That's to differentiate between whether you're dealing with an individual piece or the greater sort of grouped element of the assembly. So if I go to bed now, we get the regular settings that you might expect if you selected any bed object in ArchiCAD. So we can go through and choose the standard for sizing that we need, and then the size. We can override the size presets obviously to whatever we want to here as well. We can choose the base type and the legs and the different colors and that sort of thing. And then also we can choose the way that it is labeled as well. So we've got a B for this one. The text label is bed, and then 3. So this will depend on how you normally display your room layouts. You can set these up to do whatever you like. And again, because all of this that we're looking at are just parameters in the object, all you need to do is make changes in the way that makes sense for you, save out a favorite, and then you won't have to do any of this work ever again. So we can go through, we can set up our bed. We can go through and tell it what kind of headboard it should have, what color it should be, what size it should be. Same for the bedding, how that should look. Then we're looking at the next component, which is the cabinet next to the bed. So we set earlier how many we want of these, and in here we are setting the specifics of those actual placed cabinets. So you can see all of the settings for the cabinet itself in a way that it probably makes sense. You can choose if you want to have drawers or a cupboard or both, and that sort of thing. Bedside lamps are similar. We can just define the settings for those and set our colors. And then the set of drawers is also a component, so we can choose how we want that to be constructed. We could go framed construction and choose to have a tall set of drawers with a shallow drawer at the top. We can override any of these dimensions here, obviously. We can set the colors for that one as well. Smoke detector is similar, so what the display of the smoke detector should look like, what color it should have, and what the effective range shows. So that's that big circle we have displayed there. We can choose to not show that as well if you want to. And then under window treatments, we can choose how we want the whatever window treatments we've selected to work. So in our case, we had curtains selected at our top level. At our top level here, curtains are selected, so window treatments shows us the curtain settings. We can define how that work. We can choose if we want them to be shown open or not, and if they have a lining and what the parameters are of that. So essentially you'll go through here, set up the ways that you want your preset rooms to work, and then just save them all out as favorites and then never come back here again. You just select your favorite, click on your zone, and away you go. So making changes will happen automatically. So as you can see, it turned our dresser into a tall dresser, got rid of the mirror because it won't fit anymore. And we're all set, we're ready to go now. Now, the other thing that might happen is that the shape of your room may change. So obviously, when we initially placed this, the zone was in a certain shape and size. If you further down the track have actually made changes to the zones themselves, so the rooms have changed size or maybe just moved or something like that, you can make the tool easily catch up with that as well. So what we can do for that, let me just select this room and we will change the size. Excuse me. So our room doesn't fit into, our fit out doesn't fit into our room anymore because of whatever it was. In this case, I've dragged it away, but if you change the shape of the room or something like that, that would do it as well. all we need to do is select the room that we want to make the change for, go to CI Tools, Fit Out, update the zone polygon, and it will go through and automatically retrace that zone that you placed it on originally. Obviously, you could just delete the fit out and add it again. That would also work. If you have some good favorites set up in advance, that may even be a quicker way of doing it because you already have exactly what you know you want in there. But otherwise, you can do a refit at any point. And as you saw just earlier, you can also rearrange the elements inside by using this button here. So if you have reordered the room and you want to reset it back to how it came in the first place, just hit that button there and that'll do that. And in our case, it's the default setting again, so you won't see anything there. So that's the bedrooms. The bathrooms work in a very similar way. So if I jump in and have a look at the settings here, you can see we go up to our top level. We can define what components are actually in the bathroom. And then once we do that, we can define the settings for each of those parts. I won't go through all of the pages in here. They do pretty much exactly what you might imagine. There's plenty of options available on all of them. So for instance, the shower tap where we have multiple different kinds of these that you can choose from. And once you make your choice, you can go through and define, in some cases, a bewildering amount of dimensions on those things, as well as options for how they work as well. So there's plenty of control to allow you to design the room the way that you want to there. And then the laundry works in a similar way. A few less options in this one just because there's generally less going on with the laundry, but it works in a similar way. So we choose what is in the laundry, where things like the sink go, for instance. Should the cabinet be on the left or the right of the washers and dryers? Should the dryer be to the left or the right of the washing machine, or should it be sitting above it? That sort of thing. We can go through and make all of those changes. Again, they'll be saved in favorites, and each thing has the settings that you might expect an object like that to have. So we can go through and we can say the washing machine should be a certain size, save that as your favorite. So if you have a specific manufacturer you usually use, put in their details here, save a favorite of that, you're ready to go. So doing those is nice and easy to do. And then, as I mentioned before, probably the last thing that you'll generally want to do with your fit outs is, obviously you can create these at any point in the project, even very early in the design phase, because you can easily retrace those shapes. And essentially it's doing a bunch of the work for you. You can have these placed at any point in your project. If you get to the point where maybe some of the objects aren't exactly the thing that you want, maybe you want to specify something else and you have a matching object, for instance, at that point you can then convert the fit out into individual elements. So we just select our fit out here, go to the CI Tools menu, Fit Out, and we're going to say Convert to Components. And once I do that, it takes maybe a second or two. You'll see it looks exactly the same as it did before, so you're not going to have any weird surprises when you do this conversion, but now everything's broken up. So the curtains are individual elements, the drawers are individual elements, the bed is an individual assembly. So as you can see in here, it works in a similar way to how we saw before, but it's just the bed assembly in this case, so it will still move around as one unit, but can be defined further in here. And if we want to break that down further, we just explode this one a further level as well. So now we have individual bed, individual bedside tables, individual lamps, and that sort of thing. And at this point, you can swap in any object that you like. So you could go in here and say, well, the fit out bed has served its purpose now. I'm going to go and grab a different bed though, and put that in instead. And I should have pre-figured out where those beds are, but let's go with this one here. Okay, we inject into that bed, and then we're ready to go. We just need to move it back into the place that the original one was. That actually would have dropped in place if I had set the anchor point correctly before I did that. But you can easily swap those in after the fact. So if you're not happy with the ones that are built into fit out, you can swap those out for whatever you like. And because they're all individual elements now, if we generate a schedule, all of these pieces of our room will be scheduled as individual parts, which is what you would want. So that is a rough guide to the fit out tool, why you might want to use it and that sort of thing. Obviously, the other thing to mention about the fit out tool is since we just released it with ArchiCAD 28, it is a very new tool. So we are very keen to hear from you, our customers, about what you think of it, what other things we could do with it. Obviously, there's quite a few different directions we could take the tool in. Maybe you just want additional rooms to be able to be built. Maybe you want conference rooms, or maybe you want parking lots or parks or something like that. I don't know. I would love to hear from any of you about what kinds of additional things you think it would make sense for the tool to be able to do. So please let us know if you have a play around with the Fitout tool and you have some feedback about it. If you haven't had a play yet, but you have some ideas, I'd also love to hear those as well, because where we drive the development from here on out will depend on what you tell us you think is working or not working about the tool. I'm just going to quickly check and see if we have any other questions before we finish up. The other thing is that I should mention is that if you are a select customer in Australia or New Zealand, you have access to this tool already. It's only in ArchiCAD 28, though, I should mention. So we're not going to be releasing it for ArchiCAD 27 or earlier versions, just ArchiCAD 28 and nothing else. So yeah, so if that's the thing that you're thinking is when will it be available for ArchiCAD 26, never is the answer. It's a brand new tool. It's in the new version. It's using the new library structure and everything like that. So that's how it's going to live from now on. So any select customers in Australia or New Zealand, go ahead and grab the CI Tools installer, install the Fitout tool, make sure you've got that work environment loaded, and then just start placing Fitouts. Make a big library of favorites. Even if you don't have any feedback other than to let us know what favorites you made and that sort of thing, I would still love to hear about any of that as well. So please feel free to get in touch with us about any thoughts that you have about the Fitout tool. All right, I think that's all I have time for today, but thanks for coming, everyone. Hopefully the stream came through a bit better today. We had some technical difficulties for the last wee while, but it is mostly working now, I think. So if you can have any feedback about how it worked today, I would also love to hear that as well. Otherwise, thanks for your time, everyone, and I'll catch you at the next stream.